Hi, welcome to the Generative AI and Future of HR Masterclass. I'm Vishal Saha, Chief Product Officer at PeopleStrong, Asia Pacific's leading and the most comprehensive HR tech platform.
Hi, I'm Ankur Goel. I lead the talent product portfolio and I lead all the AI initiatives in PeopleStrong.
In this masterclass, we are going to cover the evolution of AI, generative AI, what it is, and how it is impacting HR, and the future of HR with AI. Okay, so let's look at what we are going to cover. In session one, we will talk about the evolution of AI till date, the advent of generative AI, how it is different from traditional AI, how it works, and how people are leveraging generative AI across different domains. In session two, we will look at what it takes to build a generative AI model for HR and what are the different solution approaches, what are their pros and cons. And finally, in session three, we'll look at some of the HR use cases which can really change the way we do HR today. The field of AI has been in existence for more than 7 decades now. It all started in 1950 when Alan Turing famously came out with a procedure known as the Turing test that formed the basis of artificial intelligence. Turing test is a deceptively simple method of determining whether a machine can demonstrate human intelligence. The check is that if a machine can engage in a conversation with a human without being detected as a machine, it has demonstrated human intelligence. The Turing test started the quest to build artificial intelligent machines. Initial attempts were very elementary, but over the next few decades, many advances were made in AI with machine learning, then further with deep learning, and most recently with generative AI. In November 2022, there was a major breakthrough in the field of generative AI with the launch of ChatGPT. ChatGPT truly made generative AI a household name. Within 2 months of its launch, it raked in 100 million users, a feat that Facebook took 4.5 years and Twitter took 5 years to accomplish. Since the launch of ChatGPT, all major tech players and AI startups have been rapidly coming up with their own generative AI models and applications. It's a revolution that's going to completely change the way we work. Let's have a look at how generative AI is different from traditional AI. When we say traditional AI, we are essentially referring to the fields of machine learning and deep learning. Traditional AI recognizes patterns in data, classifies data in various categories, and predicts spaces the identified patterns. Generative AI will also identify the patterns and understand the context, but it can go on to create altogether new content as per the analyzed patterns. Now let us try to understand this with an example. A traditional AI model at Spotify would look at your music listening history and likes and can recommend the next song for you. However, an application like Beethoven.ai, it uses generative AI to go one step ahead and can actually generate completely new music for you based upon your interests and taste. This is really fabulous and revolutionary. So we see that true to its name, generative AI generates content, whether it's composing a piece of music or writing a poem or creating an original artwork or generating realistic human-like dialogue. It's like a virtual colleague working with you to bring your ideas to life, and thus it makes our jobs easy, very easy. In enterprises, it can increase operational efficiency manyfold if used properly. We are already seeing path-breaking generative AI applications in every domain. In the evolving landscape of AI, it's not really a question of traditional AI versus generative AI. Both have their own place in the sun and have their own use cases. Mature business applications are leveraging both traditional AI and generative AI, efficient and impactful experience for their end users. Okay, now moving to the next slide. Let us try to understand how generative AI works. Once we have a broad understanding of this, we will deep dive into what it takes to build a generative AI for HR. So how does it work? Generative AI applications are powered by LLM, that is large language model. For example, ChatGPT is powered by OpenAI GPT-4 LLM, and Google Bard is powered by Palm 2 LLM. What is a large language model? It is basically an AI model that can understand text input in human language and can generate human-like responses. They are large because they consist of an extensive number of parameters, often in billions, that are trained on vast amounts of data. With the help of this training, a LLM can recognize patterns in a language to generate coherent responses. LLM models are built using deep learning techniques, specifically using a type of neural network called the transformer architecture, which is designed to process and generate data in sequence. including the next word, sentence, or paragraph based upon its training data's typical sequence. LLMs are pre-trained on massive amounts of textual data like web pages, articles, books, conversations on chat forums, support forums, social media, etc. First generation of LLMs like GPT-3 were mostly focused on textual data. Now we have multimodal LLMs like OpenAI GPT-4 and Google Gemini that are trained on images, videos, and audio as well. Once the LLM has been trained, it can be used to generate new content based upon the parameters set by the user. It can do a variety of things, like answering any question related to the data set it was trained upon, summarizing any information, translation between the supported languages, and even image and video and code generation, basis the prompts given to the LLM. Generative AI is now reshaping industries and professions across the board, from automated sales bots to marketing content generation, multilingual customer support agents, automated content creation, and semantic search for knowledge management, generative art and design. You can see applications of generative AI everywhere. According to Gartner, it is expected that by 2026, more than 100 million people will engage robo-colleagues, which are powered by generative AI to contribute to enterprise work. As we have seen, there are already a multitude of generative AI applications. However, there are very limited set of generative AI applications in HR. One of the reasons is that the generative AI models available today are more generalized in nature. And so while they perform remarkably well in generating content across a wide range of topics, they often lack the necessary domain-specific knowledge to be helpful in most enterprise applications, including HR. In this session, let's try to decipher what it takes to build a generative AI for HR. So what's the end goal here? Just like ChatGPT is able to answer any general question, we would want to have a generative AI model for HR that can provide tailored and personalized experience to users, whether it is a recruiter or a candidate, a manager or an employee. Such a model can significantly improve the productivity and efficiency by automating tasks and generating content that adheres to HR-specific terminology. Enterprises can streamline their operations and free up valuable human resources for higher level tasks. Let's see what it takes to build such a model. First and foremost, what we need is general intelligence. So we want the model to understand language and have the capability to frame sentences with correct spelling and grammar, and it should be able to hold human-like conversations. These are the capabilities that are generally available in foundation models like GPT, Llama 2, etc. So once the general intelligence is taken care of, what we need is the knowledge of HR domain. So we would like the model to comprehend HR processes and the terminologies associated with it. Let's take the employee performance process. The model should understand how it works and should have a know-how of the various tools, frameworks, and domain concepts used in the process, like OKR, balanced scorecard, skills, continuous feedback, etc., etc. The model should be able to understand what is meant by metrics like cost to hire, quality of hire, attrition rate, pay parity, employee satisfaction, etc., and how they are measured. So that's why it's very important for the model to be trained on HR domain. Now, once that is there, what next we need is enterprise context. This requires access to organization data and employee data stored in HR systems. Organization data will give us an understanding of how the organization is structured, what are the various policies and processes followed by the organization, and employee data will give an information of their demographics, their skills, their performance, etc., which will give answer questions on a variety of areas related to the employee. Continuing with the example of performance process, organization metadata here would give an understanding of the performance rating process for the organization. So for one organization, a performance rating of A would mean a best performer, whereas for another organization, A could mean a bottom performer. Similarly, attendance rules and shift timings would vary from one set of employees to another. Now, if you want the model to show you all the bottom performers who are regularly late in office, the model would need the organization data and employee data to figure out and respond with the right set of employees. And that's why the enterprise context is extremely important. So each of these three layers, general intelligence, HR domain, and enterprise context, work in unison to bring forth what we see as HR intelligence. But that's not enough. We need another layer of data security, which is extremely important for HR. One key requirement still needs to be addressed, that is data security. Data security is of utmost importance in the context of generative AI for HR. HR systems typically have very sensitive and personal information about employees and candidates. Protecting the confidentiality of the data used to train generative AI models is vital to maintain the trust between the organization and its employees. Further, there are various privacy regulations like GDPR that organizations must comply with. Non-compliance can result in several legal consequences and damage to companies' reputation. So it's crucial to safeguard against unauthorized access and potential breaches as well. This requires a very robust security layer. Then only the generative AI model can be enterprise ready. Now that we have clarity of the key ingredients required to build a generative AI model for HR, let's have a look at the 4 different approaches that can be used to build it. The cost, complexity, and accuracy will vary in each of these. The first approach is using a third-party LLM from providers like OpenAI, Google, etc., which can be accessed via APIs. So there's minimal investment required here, and data science skills are also not required. The primary method is to provide HR domain and enterprise context in this. In the first approach, a third-party LLM from providers like OpenAI, Google, etc. can be accessed via APIs. There is minimal investment required here, and data science skills are also not required. The primary method to provide HR domain and enterprise context in this approach is through prompt engineering. It's a quick approach. However, such applications lack depth of context and accuracy. The second approach integrates the power of retrieval or search into LLM text generation. Here also LLM provider APIs are used, but it's combined with a retrieval system that fetches relevant data from enterprise datasets. This approach balances simplicity and effectiveness. The cost would be higher than approach 1. Accuracy is also higher, but it still has limitations for domain-intensive use cases. The third approach is where enterprises can take an existing foundation model like Llama 2 and fine-tune it with supervised learning on HR domain and enterprise context. This requires data scientists to adjust the model parameters and train the model on labeled datasets. This approach requires more time and effort than approaches 1 and 2. The resulting model, however, will be much deeper and more capable in HR context. Companies that see AI as a strategic driver for their growth are following this approach. Finally, approach 4, which is custom model development. This is the most complex and expensive approach and involves building a model from scratch. It requires vast amounts of data, highly experienced data scientists, and huge investments on infrastructure. This approach will result in a model that is tailor-made for the enterprise. But considering the exorbitant cost associated with it, it's very less likely that any enterprise would go for it. Now let's dive into some actual scenarios where generative AI can be a game changer in your day-to-day HR operations, potentially saving you almost half of your day. Ankur, over to you to walk us through these use cases.
In the first 2 sessions, we learned about generative AI, how it's different from traditional AI and how it works. We also looked at some of the business applications of generative AI, as well as how generative AI can work for HR domain. In this session, let's look at some of the use cases of generative AI in HR. Generative AI has application across employee talent lifecycle. Generative AI can be used in HR to attract and hire candidates, serve and engage employees, then develop, grow, and retain them. We'll now explain how generative AI can be useful for the use cases we just spoke about. We start with attract and hire. During recruitment, recruiters or hiring managers spend a lot of time to create job descriptions. With the help of Gen AI, they can create JDs in no time. All they have to mention are few details, titles, years of experience, and Gen AI can come up with a draft job description based on the organization and the industry. To hire the best talent, it's important that the right questions are asked to the candidate. An interview process helps candidate understand the culture of the company. Gen AI can help recruiters and hiring managers prepare for the conducting such interviews. Since system already knows the job title, it can help hiring managers with the relevant questions which they ask. Hiring managers can also take help guidance for things like how to take an interview of a senior executive. Next big use case is around serve and engage. Once an employee is hired, his or her engagement during onboarding journey is quite important, and it sets up employee well in the organization. With the help of generative AI, system can engage the employees by guiding and nudging with right information at the right time, like company policies, information about employee culture and values, people to meet, etc. With Gen AI and a chatbot, employee can also access to a system to seek guidance and ask queries during onboarding. During the employee stay in an organization, there are a lot of times where employees seek guidance and help are not able to directly get that. With GenAI and the chatbot, systems can act as talent coach and help employees in various situations. For example, what to do when someone has been promoted for the first time or when someone has to engage in a difficult conversation. If an employee can get guidance at right time, they are well engaged and set up for success in the organization. GenAI can also help in developing, growing, and retaining the employees. Organizations create learning opportunities for their employees to develop their skills so that they can do well in the organization. A common challenge is to find the good content which is relevant and in context to an organization. Typically, there are a lot of experts in the company who can provide the content, but they do not have time or writing expertise. GenAI can help by creating a draft in no time on their inputs, resulting in increased context, relevant content for the employees to consume and improve their skills. In any organizations, creating goals aligned with company strategy help in improving organization productivity as well as creating transparency for the employees in terms of their performance. OKR systems help achieve that, but every quarter OKR setting exercise faces a lot of hurdles. With help of generative AI systems, can create goals for a whole organizations very quickly. All system has to know the company's quarterly objectives, industry, organization hierarchy, and it can recommend OKRs for whole organization in no time. Generative AI can also help in providing visibility of data to senior stakeholders through conversation. HR managers, CXOs can ask their data queries through a chatbot, and system can generate relevant analytics graph insights with the help of generative AI capability. This eliminates the need of elaborate chart creation, long process, and democratizes the. Typically, a lot of reports are generated by HR managers, but they have to generate insights from those. Generative AI can read and analyze the report data and provide relevant, useful insights. These are just few examples to demonstrate power of generative AI in HR. Generative AI can truly help employees and organizations grow and succeed. Just recently, we used generative AI to create OKRs in our organization, and we were able to set them flat in a week time, which typically takes a lot of time and follow-ups. This is just a start. In coming months, we would see a lot of useful applications of generative AI in HR. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining this session on generative AI and the future of HR Masterclass. We have explored the incredible potential of generative AI in revolutionizing HR practices. To witness the power of generative AI in action, I encourage you to visit the PeopleStrong website. There you can dive into an interactive demo that brings to life the transformative capabilities we have discussed today. Experience firsthand how this technology can elevate your HR processes and drive innovation in your organization. Stay curious, stay innovative. Thank you once again. Have a great day.